Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be doing a video about getting married young and my thoughts on it. So I wrote down a couple of questions to go through and then I'll have my thoughts on it at the end. I live in Canada. My husband, at that time when I spoke to him, he lived in England, and no, he is not white. He is brown just like me. Yeah, I thought I would add that because whenever I tell people he lived in England, they're like, oh, you married a white person. And side note, one time I was like, yeah, he is a white person. Just, you know, I've had friends who had they would go into university and they would have like a boyfriend at university, and they hid them for like 4 years, 3 years from their parents, and by the time they came to their parents to tell them, you know, I would like to get married, their parents are like, who have you found? Like, we're not accepting of this relationship at all. One advice I would recommend is that, you know, if you do find somebody, don't spend like a year or 2 years or 3 years or 4 years getting to know them without introducing anyone else into the relationship. And I mean that, like, tell your friends about it, ask your parents about it, let people know that, you know, there's this person, because at the end of the day, you don't want to get into like a 3-year-long relationship and then when you go to your parents, you know, it's not accepted and they're like, cut it off completely. Now you've wasted 3 years of your life talking to someone you wouldn't have gotten married to. And on top of that, most likely, like if you were going to university together, you know, there's always that temptation, and yeah, like people do stuff, so it's like you would really want to like avoid that, right? As a Muslim, if you're Muslim, make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. So what I mean by this is, when I did get married young, thankfully my husband was like similar to my age, so it was like we were doing, you know, making the same mistakes and stuff. Whereas if you're like, let's say you're 19, and I've seen people like 19-year-olds get married to like 29-year-olds, now that's gonna be completely different because you're in a completely different like generation. The 29-year-old, they worked in the industry, they've grown up a lot more. As a 19-year-old, you're like more likely to make mistakes, you don't know as much, and like that could be something that would clash. But obviously it depends on like what your preference is. For me, I did not want anybody who was older than 4 years for me, just because I knew I wouldn't be able to connect with them. So it all depends on person to person. I would say it's a lot harder to find somebody when you're older, like when you're 30 or whatever, just because a lot of people have gotten married or are in relationships. So yeah, I would say that if you are planning on getting married young, make sure to involve other people, whether you like it or not, whatever people will say. In my circumstance, I had a lot of people, you know, saying no, that it's not a good idea. And you know, since my husband was from England, I had a lot of people saying like, he's only doing it to the Canadian passport, he wants to come here. And for me, it was like that just didn't make sense to me. Like UK and Canada, I think they're pretty developed countries. It's like, it's not like somebody was coming from like, you know, a third world country, or that I got fooled. Like, you are getting married young, make sure you know what like the what's the word I'm looking for, like the downsides of somebody. So if they have anger issues, if they have something, like, know that, are you okay to handle it? You know, if whatever issues that they have, dig into it, find them out, see if you are willing to take that on for the rest of your life. Spend your time getting to know them separately, get your parents to know them, get other people to know them, because you know, them being a part of your life, they will hold like other relationships in your life. Your parents are going to have a relationship with them, your friends are going to have a relationship with them, and it's not entirely like, you know, dependent on that. But you should know, like, you know, in a social setting, if people are going to get together, is it going to be okay, you know? At the end of the day, it's your decision if you want to get married young or old. For me, it worked out well, alhamdulillah. It worked out well. I feel like if you do find somebody yourself, you should know that, like, you know, I will spend time getting my parents to know them, even if they don't like them. And then at the end of the day, it's your decision. I'm not saying to like run away and get married. That's a terrible idea. Don't ever do that. Alright, so I think those are like my random thoughts about getting married young. If you guys have any questions, let me know down below. I'll try to make another video answering them. If you want me to make a more detailed video about how I met my husband, because it is a pretty crazy story. It is slightly embarrassing, but whatever.